So if you're from Fresno, listen to this. We got a scary story.
Okay, so allegedly, the boy was hit on the train tracks. He went there because a girl that he was interested in told him that, like, if you want to meet me here. And she stood him up, walking back home, back across the train tracks. And he was just in sorrow in some way.
Distress.
He was really hooked up on this situation. I don't know exactly the words this girl said, but essentially, like, she hurt his feelings so hard, and he waited there for her. And when he realized that, like, she mocked him, stayed there, and they're not sure exactly how or why he got hit by a train, but that's why he was there, was to meet somebody who stood him up. And apparently he was heartbroken about it. And so apparently girls who go by that train used to experience, like, somebody wanting to talk to them. But the girls would always feel uneasy or feel some type of way.
And where is this train track at?
This is the train track between Dakota and Palm, or between Dakota and Ashland on Palm. There's a canal there. On the way towards Powers Elementary. There was a tragic accident there, and there was a rumor to say that the boy was there.
Haunting the location.
The
train track.
The train track, yeah.
Hi, my witchies. Welcome to the Witch Talk Tales podcast. My name is Megan. I'm from Fresno. I talk about haunted places, true crimes, urban legends, histories, and scary stories, and paranormal videos of Fresno. So if you're from Fresno or even from the Central Valley, why not subscribe to my podcast? Now, in tonight's episode, we will be going to a local bar to ask the locals about their paranormal encounters. Now, before we get into tonight's episode, viewer's discretion and audio discretion is advised. Everything we talk about is just pure speculation to the best of our knowledge. Strong adult language. But with that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get straight into tonight's episode of Fresno Locals Scary Stories. To hear it. And where did this happen?
This happened at a home of mine.
In Fresno?
Back in Fresno. Towards like Wawona school area.
So if you're from Fresno, listen to this.
I lived on this like cul-de-sac house, and in a Mexican household, you got people sharing rooms. And so me and my niece used to share a room, and she would leave her toys in the room lying around. And she had this one unicorn that I never thought anything of it. It was a stuffed unicorn. Mm-hmm. She didn't actually share the room with me, but we shared the house, and she would come play in my room, and she would leave toys in my room. So she left this like unicorn toy. And one time I locked my room behind me, so no one should have been in my room. And I came back into my room, and my room was right next to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. So usually I can hear when someone opens my door too, because my door opens and it hits the bathroom door. So it was just a weird house built. And so I didn't hear nobody go into my room. And so I went into my room, and when I went in there, I remember seeing her toy and being like, I'm gonna pick that up later. And it was laying flat like this. And when I came back in, it was sitting perfectly standing up, and it was closer towards the closet door. Mm-hmm. And this time it was directly in the middle of the room, pointing towards the room door. When I walked in, it was the first thing I could see in my room. And I just was like, no, I remember it was over there. I felt so uncomfortable even getting dressed in my room that I just grabbed whatever like clothes I had, got dressed in the bathroom, and immediately went and started accusing my friend, who was in my room, who was messing with this, who was messing with it. And it became kind of like a running joke to them, of being like, oh, the unicorn's haunted. And so I don't know if after that, but for weeks, I would see that unicorn standing in certain positions in my room.
And that's where you got the idea of a prank, but it wasn't a prank. Or
yeah.
Do you think it was a prank?
The second day it happened again, and then I got so paranoid I started accusing everybody again. And then the third day they were making fun of me, and I caught one of them, and they purposely did it where they would see me, and they were like, ha ha ha, the unicorn moved on. Like, they made it clear after that they moved it this time.
But the
first and second day, I know for the fact, the first day, nobody touched that unicorn. Nobody went in my room because I'm very sure I locked my room right after I went in there. And so, yeah, that was one of those, I could never explain it. But ever since then, and then the unicorn disappeared.
Do you have any scary stories to tell us?
I do, and this is a story that was passed on to my family from my dad.
Mm-hmm.
He grew up in Jalisco, up in the mountains, where mysticism and magic was rampant, and there was no separation between the natural and supernatural. It was all intermingled. This is a story that I grew up hearing from my dad, and it was always so unbelievable, right? But I have to honor the otherworldliness about it. So I'm gonna read that to you, and I've titled it "Liquor and Lights." The two men scuffled on the cobbled road. There was no moon, and it was pitch dark down to the pueblo. As they locked arms and threw punches at one another, my father lost his footing. Sebastian, gaining the upper hand, fell on top and continued delivering punches. There were two things that my dad was good at: drinking and fighting. He quickly wrestled his way on top, punching Sebastian in the face, leaving him dazed. My dad stood up. Sebastian panted heavily and suddenly growled, "Discúlpame, chorro. Tú sabes que me puedo aguantar." My father extended his hand to help Sebastian to his feet. Sebastian slapped my father's hand away and propped himself up. He spat at my father's feet and started walking down the road. Their night at the disco was ruined again by my father's compulsion to steal the girl. Sebastian ignored my father's pleas. My father was too drunk to catch up. He slowly walked behind, trying to keep up with Sebastian. They were coming from a baile at the rancho. They were high in the hills, miles from town. Suddenly, Sebastian stopped in his tracks and peered across the valley to the horizon, where the mountains looked like the pitch black monoliths below the stars. My father looked in the direction of Sebastian's gaze and saw what looked like orbs of light bouncing around, darting behind the mountains, and suddenly disappearing into the skies. My father has told me he did trabajos for the brujas when he was a kid. He would run errands for dried beans or masa. He told me that when witches took flight, they would jump atop the mountainside in the form of lights or fireballs. Suddenly, a blinding light took over the heavens overhead. It was so bright they couldn't see anything, only white. And it was so quiet that the sound of his own heartbeat was so loud that he thought he would pass out from it. He screamed Sebastian's name, but no sound would be heard. He felt the ground disappear, and he kicked wildly at the air, so frantically. As quickly as it overtook them, it was gone. But instead of an intense white, it was now pitch black. They were blinded. Both men crawled on the cobble road, moving towards each other, towards the sound of their voices. After what felt like an eternity, they finally grabbed one another's arms and drunkenly mumbled apologies to each other. They swore off drinking and girls, at least for a while. They helped each other up and blindly, slowly made their way back to town. It wasn't until dawn that their eyesight returned. My father thinks it was aliens. Sebastian thinks it was God teaching them a lesson. I think they're a pair of borrachos. And that's it.
And you wrote this?
Yeah, I wrote it.
Because you've heard it before.
Yeah, this was a story that I heard from my dad so many times. And he passed away a year and a half ago.
Rest in peace.
And I just remember all the amazing stories that he tells me. That's all I have now.
No, that's so
So
good.
yeah, it's beautiful, and I love reconnecting to the mystery of shit. And my dad was a big believer in like things we don't understand, So I'm always really grateful for my own curiosity that he cultivated in me, because you never know.
You just never know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. So you have any scary stories to tell us? Or did you experience any paranormal?
Girl, my whole, I've said to you many times, my life has been like an episode of paranormal activity. I saw somebody a couple of weeks ago that has previously sent like bad juju my way, right? And
Like
I had
black magic?
Yeah, and I haven't seen that person in a couple of years. After leaving that person, I was gonna have some kind of activity going on, right? But nothing really happened for a couple of days. But then a pipe busted in my house.
Oh, no. Yeah,
Right?
Juju.
And so once the pipe busted in the house, it was like a big old like thing, right? They had to shut off my water for days and this and that. Well, they decided to repipe the house. So they sent a bunch of workers, they cut a bunch of holes in the walls, and they went up in the attic and they repiped all the pipes over into the attic instead of under the house. But after that, there was a lot of activity happening in the house. Every one of the kids at separate times was like, Mom, something's in here. Mom, I hear something in the other room and nobody's in the house but me. Mom, stuff is moving in my room. I put it right here and I came back and it's gone and I can't find it. Mom,
And
Mom,
this
Mom.
happened in Fresno.
Yeah, this happened, in Fresno. We're not strangers to that kind of stuff around my house, so we just cleanse the house and everything, and I have a good idea of kind of like where it came from. You know what I mean? But
Are you going to tell us?
there's stuff out here, and people do play with things and practice things that maybe you don't understand, or maybe they're not. Like their intentions aren't always good, so you have to be careful.
And it's wild, from what you said, was that the person you haven't seen in a long time
Yeah.
sent that juju. So, and that makes me think that people who I used to be friends with or talk to are able to do that.
But the thing is you have to accept that those things have authority over you for them to conquer you, for them to really affect you. Like
Right.
That's what I said. It's really about standing in your authority and saying no. Like, I don't consent to this. Whoever sent you to me, you need to go back to where you came from. You know what I mean? And and just doing the work and setting the intention and being diligent on continuing to clean your space. Sometimes for a long time, depending on the level of activity or what they sent your way and stuff. So this is not a person that it's a familiar person that I've already dealt with. So that made it a little easier this time.
If you're from Fresno, listen to this. We got a scary story.
Okay, so allegedly, this is more of like a murder, but a boy was hit on the train tracks, and the story was that he went there because a girl that he was interested in told him that, like, if you want to meet me here, and she stood him up, and he was walking back home, back across the train tracks. And he was just in sorrow in some way.
Distress.
He was really hooked up on this situation. I don't know exactly the words this girl said, but essentially, like she hurt his feelings so hard, and he waited there for her. And when he realized that, like, she mocked him, I'm not sure exactly how or why he got hit by a train, but that's why he was there, was to meet somebody who stood him up. And apparently he was heartbroken about it. And so apparently girls who go by that train used to experience like somebody wanting to talk to them. A lot of my friends who were girls who happened to be true crimes were the ones that happened to go out there. But when they would go out there with a boy, he never heard or experienced or sensed the person there. But the girls would always feel uneasy or feel some type of way.
And where is this train track at?
This is the train track between Dakota and Palm, or between Dakota and Ashland on Palm. There's a canal there. On the way towards Powers Elementary. There was a tragic accident there, and there was a rumor to say that the boy was there
Haunting the location.
haunting the location.
The train track.
The train track, yeah.
So if you're from Fresno, drop down a comment and let us know. Have you ever heard about this urban legend? And again, this is all alleged, but you know, this is why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
We're here.
These were like the ghost stories I heard in my
Yeah.
neighborhood. Regardless, whatever is on that train tracks, I've heard different stories of people just feeling uneasy by those train tracks.
I've never heard about that urban legend, but no, it's crazy. It's in a good way because
Yeah.
we live in Fresno, but we live in different parts of Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
So you might not hear the things that I heard of, and I might not hear the thing that you're telling me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so invested in that
Because
story.
even if you go by that train tracks, you'll see like a lot of people get hit on that train. So I'm not even sure if by now, since then, there's been a few more tragedies then.
well, back to that.
Yeah.
Even if you don't believe in haunted places or scary stories or spirits, you'd rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because, I don't know. Yeah, for sure. You want to be safe than sorry, right? Because I was once a little kid who didn't believe in any of that stuff. And there was an older kid who was dabbling in like dark magic and playing with things they didn't understand, that kind of taught all these other kids what was going on. And it became a really like problematic situation for all these kids. You know what I mean? Don't play with things you don't understand. Don't play with Ouija boards. Don't be trying to channel stuff. You know,
Because it's real.
That's
a real thing. A real portal.
It really can be. It can be. I just don't recommend playing with stuff you don't understand, you know? And if you are trying to learn a practice, you need to find an elder to guide you
Yeah.
in whatever that practice is.
That has knowledge of it.
Yes.
'Cause what
Don't
if
just
you
go dabbling in stuff you don't understand. Find somebody who can teach you and give you the respect for whatever practice it is that you're doing. You know, even if like me, I don't necessarily have a practice. I just have cultural stuff. Like, you know, like I'm not a religious person. Regardless of whether you have religion, like you have a compass inside of you, like what is right and what is wrong. Like, you know, when something doesn't feel right in your body, like in your spirit, like don't do it. You know, listen to that.
Again, because you never know.
You don't. You don't.
Thank you so much for
You're
sharing your
welcome.
story with
It was
us.
good seeing you.
Of course. Likewise.
Yeah, always. All right, boo.
All right, Bill. Well, I'll see you later.
All right.
And you guys heard it from herself.
Let me get out of here.
We love that she told the story about her paranormal experiences. So if you're from Fresno, drop down a comment and let me know. Have you ever had your own personal paranormal experiences? And even if people don't believe you, just know there's somebody here in Fresno that's able to share your story. Any advices for the audio listeners and viewers?
From me, I would just like to say that you're never alone. There's always people to talk to, and to always be in tune with your surroundings. You never know what you might experience, what you might not experience if you don't really just give in to that moment. And sometimes you'll learn something new about yourself, your own intuitiveness, your own gut feelings. Just listen to that rawness. Listen to your body, because sometimes it's telling you something, whether you want to listen to it or not, but there's something there. And just always be in tune with yourself. Be in tune with the world, be in tune with yourself. Respect yourself, respect the world, and always know you're never alone.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you so much.
Baby. Thank you for listening to me.
Of course. Well, that is it, my witches and norms. Thank you guys for listening and watching to the Witch Talk Test episode. Blessed be, please stay safe, and always remember, treat these haunted places and spirits with respect, because you too might be haunting the place one day. Bye.